Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Hall of Famer Bob Berry ruled Milwaukee's airwaves in the 60s and 70s. He spoke with countless musicians and celebrities over the years. Bob collected remarkable recordings of these encounters, which he's now sharing with the public. Here's Bob.
Welcome to the podcast. Today we feature a man who dared to dream beyond the horizon and then made it real. John Glenn was a true pioneer. He was a man who defied the limits of Earth and rewrote the story of human possibility. Marine, test pilot, astronaut, senator, and legend. He was the first American to orbit the Earth and the first to remind us that courage isn't a moment, it's a way of living.
There was the ignition of the burners.
0, ignition, liftoff.
Liftoff.
The A6 vehicle has lifted off.
Senator John Glenn, does that bring back some memories for you there? Could you hear that in the background?
Yes, I sure could.
Do you relive that once in a while in your dreams? And
Certainly everyone recalls that so much, and always asks questions about it. That's remained very vivid in my memory. It seems like it was just a week or two ago.
February 20th, 1962, when at that time astronaut John Glenn, now Senator John Glenn, was the first man in the world to orbit the Earth. Senator John Glenn is on the air with us right now, and I'm sure that most of you know that he is a United States Senator. Why did you want to become a senator?
Well, I've looked at most of my life as being service to the country. I was proud to serve in World War II, went in right after Pearl Harbor, and felt good about representing the country, and stayed in the Marine Corps after that time, and then was in Korea, and then became a test pilot, and then out of that into the space program. So I guess I've looked at most of my life as public service, and at this stage of my life, if I could contribute any more here in the Senate and had a chance of making it, well, I felt that was the thing to do, so I did, and here I am.
Let's get back to I know you mentioned that the view was tremendous when in your first orbit. A lot of the astronauts have experienced kind of a religious revival type of thing. Did anything like this happen to you? Did you become a more religious person after this?
Well, not really, I don't think. I know that some of the fellows have been impressed that way, and but I'll tell you, I grew up in a religious family, a Christian family, and attended the Presbyterian Church, and I'm a Presbyterian elder myself. And I don't really look at at going into space and the danger or whatever we face at that particular time as the time to just make a fire engine type religion. And I think we should live our religion every day of our lives. We all have emergencies every day that we are just as crucial to each individual as that day was in space for me. And I've felt that we should live our religion day in and day out. Now, I'm not trying to talk down the experience some of the other fellows have had. It's been very real, and they're very sincere in it, and I support them in how the trip into space impressed them. Certainly, I was more aware than ever in my life, I guess, of the beauties of the Earth and the universe and everything else. But I think we all have emergencies every day, and our religion is something we should be living day in and day out, not just taking out when we happen to take it out and use it when we happen to have an emergency going on.
How were you chosen to become the first astronaut, I guess we'd have to say?
Well, it was a long program. They were looking mainly at that time for test pilots, and they felt the test pilots probably had the best background for going into this whole new field that was going to involve such great speeds and working in small confined spaces, and it would be most like the work that we had done in the space program, or in the testing program, and all of the first people the first 7 of us had been active test pilots just before that, and so we were picked on that basis first. And then they also had qualifications, of course, for educational background, and we went through a lot of testing on psychological stability and all the tests, I guess, that they knew how to run on mankind, really, we were subjected to. They started out with about 130-some people who had been through test pilot schools, and then worked it down to the 7 of us that were selected in that first group.
How would you like to be President of the United States someday?
I think that's highly unlikely, but I'm quite happy here where I am. But if opportunities were ever presented in a different area, obviously you'd have to consider them at that time. I'll be giving one of the 2 keynote speeches at the Democratic National Convention next summer, and I think in all probability our candidates will come out of this primary process that's going on right now. I think that'll become more evident as time goes along and as some of the candidates fall by the wayside. So I think the candidates will probably come out of this process. But if things are all jammed up still next summer, and we still have more candidates we know what to do with, and if no one has really made up their mind yet and they're casting about for other people, of course there are a lot of areas to go. Senator Humphrey has been mentioned, of course, and he's interested in it. And it's hard to tell what will happen at the convention if it still is as muddled as it is right now. And if my name was still in some big hat, I'm certainly not going to withdraw it and mortgage my future at this point.
Okay. How about the space program? Do you think we should continue spending money on the space program?
Oh, yes. I think people have had a misconception of what the space program is all about. I think they've looked at it as some big drag race with Russia to the moon, and we won, so why keep on running any further? And that's not the purpose of the program. We've spent about the first 10 years just learning how to travel in space, and using it for its true purpose, and that is how to do research up there, how to learn where new energy sources are, the effects of weightlessness on man that have led us into whole new approaches to cancer study and heart and cardiovascular problems, heart problems, Earth resources analysis, back toward Earth. Those are three major areas that are far more valuable than anything we have spent on them. And I think people tend to equate the space program just with the human experience of a man going into space, but that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is basic research that benefits everybody, not only in this country, but all over the whole world, and I support it on that basis. I think the total budget has been cut about in half from what it was during the days of highest expenditure when the Apollo hardware was being built. Is down around $3.5 billion a year now, and I think at that level it can continue and do the good that we've foreseen in it all along.
After you got back from your orbit around the world, Senator, you talked to President Kennedy from the ship. Did you become pretty good friends with President Kennedy, or was this just kind of
I know him fairly well. I knew Bob Kennedy better than I knew the president, but we were in and out of the White House a number of times and got to know the president fairly well. He was highly interested in all the things in the space program, what was going on. I mean, down into real details of what control movements resulted in what happening on the spacecraft and things of that nature. I took a model over once to the White House just to go through some of those things with him.
Was the actual trip the biggest thrill of your life, or has there been something since? Of course, becoming senator had to be kind of a thrill, too.
I wouldn't say, define a biggest thrill of a lifetime. Of course, that had to rank high in any experience I've ever had, but there are lots of experiences that are thrilling. Combat is thrilling, too, when you're getting shot at. So,
yeah. Okay, I got that.
Lots of things get a little bit thrilling in life.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That was one of them, of course, too.
Okay, Senator, thanks a lot for taking time out from I know it's a very busy schedule there in Ohio, and best of continued success to you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye. Just to recall, now, this happened such a long time ago, and a lot of young people are home from school today and never even heard this conversation. On February 20th, 1962, John Glenn was the first man to orbit the Earth, and when he came back, got on the ship, he talked to President Kennedy. It's a very short conversation, but it kind of showed the humanness of the whole thing.
I must say you did a wonderful job.
Thanks, Mr. President.
Well, we're glad you get down in very good shape. I was just watching your father and mother on television, and they seemed very happy.
It was a wonderful trip. It's almost unbelievable to think back on it right now, but it was really tremendous.
Well, we're going to, we'll see you over at, I'm going to come down to Canaveral on Friday, and then hope you come up to Washington on Monday or Tuesday, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Well, fine, I'll certainly look forward to it.
Bob Berry.
Thank you for listening to Bob Berry's Unearthed Interviews. Be sure to subscribe and rate our podcast wherever you find your podcasts. You can find all our episodes at WisconsinBroadcastersMuseum.org. Check out Bob Berry's book, Rock and Roll Radio Milwaukee. Book sale proceeds support Donate Life Wisconsin. Special thanks to Wisconsin Historical Society and for financial support from WBA Hall of Famer Terry Bond.